Welcome to this special interview with Father Pascual Chávez Villanueva, the 9th Rector Major of the Salesian congregation. He is a distinguished figure whose leadership from 2002 to 2014 guided the congregation through a transformative era of global growth and spiritual renewal. So during your time as Rector Major, what do you consider the most significant achievements for the Salesian congregation worldwide, Father?
Well, first of all, I thank you for the possibility to share with you, in part, what was my experience as Rector Major, and then what I continue to do, animating, accompanying the provinces, especially in the case of formation. No? So during my time on Rector Major, no doubt that I was following Father Becky. Father Becky, my predecessor, the last 2 years has been very ill because of a tumor in the brain. For that reason, practically, he has given up. And my first idea when I was elected Rector Major is to move forward the original plan of animation and government done by him. He was very clear about which was, according to him, the best challenges of the challenge of the congregation. He said that community was the most important question. He said, we are solving a lot of educational, pastoral, social problems, but we are not taking very good care of one of the essential elements of the Salesian charism, which is community. For that reason, in part, since the first moment, I tried to consolidate the communities and to accompany the formation of the rectors as the animators of that. Anyway, among the most significant achievements was, first of all, the supporting of growth and consolidation of the Africa project. In fact, I celebrated the 25th anniversary of that project, which now is something miraculous because we are already in 42 of 46 countries of all Africa. But at the same time, the situation in Europe, we're becoming more and more needy of personnel. For that reason, at that moment, I launched the Europa project, which is quite different, because in Africa, the main purpose was the implantation of the Salesian charism. Instead, in Europe, was to revive, to reawaken Don Bosco's charism in a very different situation. At the same time, it was necessary to give a kind of accompaniment to a presence in China, because we are in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in Macau. We have 2 presences in continental China. No? For that reason, I started with Don Bosco services. Defining the identity of the Salesian University Institutes, because maybe very few Salesians know that we have more than 70 universities in the whole congregation, and we were not very well known for our presence in this area. Usually we consider the universities for the Jesuits, for the Dominicans, not for us. In the time of Don Becky, they had started to come out, but now we have 76. So for that reason, I wanted to help all the Salesian universities to define exactly what we wanted to do with that presence. No? And for that reason, it was important the university project, the social extension, and so on. That was very important, and I am very happy that my successor, first of all, Father Angel, now Father Fabio Atar, they continue exactly the same accompaniment. One of the most significant points was no doubt the Congress, International Congress about preventive system and human rights, because was the moment in which we were invited to abandon a certain paternalistic way of understanding the work for the street children or for the most vulnerable, instead of helping them to be empowered to take in their own hands their own life.
During this tenure that you had, definitely connected to the youth ministry, you had various initiatives. Some of them you mentioned already, but you were also faced with challenges. And during the process of addressing those challenges, what are some of the cultural differences that you found among the ministry that we carry out for the youth?
According to me, the greatest challenge is a true inculturation of the charism and also of our pedagogical system, which means to be very full inserted, immersed in the different cultures. Otherwise, we don't understand the way of thinking, the way of being, the way of relating, the way of living, and therefore our responses do not correspond exactly. There is the danger that we may much more on a transculturation. What does it mean? That we transfer European or Western values instead of help them to express the richness according to their values, no? Without losing our Salesian identity. Added to this is knowledge of the political, economic, and religious situation. Because in some contexts, the greatest challenge is, for example, the religious poverty in Europe. In other contexts, for example, is the cultural poverty, Africa. And others is poverty. For that reason, it was important at the same time of knowing the culture to know very well the context at the three different levels, social, political, and religious. And this means that the Salesians must respond to the true needs and expectations of the young people in whatever culture, in whatever context in which they are. If we are in Asia, South Asia, Africa, America, Latin America, United States, Europe, of course, the challenges, opportunities are different.
Regarding this process of encountering young people in different cultures all through your tenure, you might have definitely met very interesting young people, and among them some encounters that really captured you and also even today you cherish. Would you like to share some of these encounters with us?
Well, one of the most important, no doubt, was the 3-year preparation for the bicentenary of Don Bosco's birth. Because at that moment I invited the whole congregation to know much better the history of Don Bosco. Even if we can say that we know him much more well. Second, the pedagogy of Don Bosco insisted that we need to update the preventive system. And finally, the less area of Don Bosco, the less known area of Don Bosco's life, which is his spirituality. It is enough to remember which was the impact in all the provinces of all the world, including, for example, Piemonte, of the pilgrimage of Don Bosco's casket. Because just the simple presence of the casket aroused not only a lot of enthusiasm, unique, I have never seen something similar to that, but at the same time produced real miracles that have been authenticated scientifically as miracles. Also brought a lot of conversion, even in some conference that maybe couldn't realize exactly which was the importance and how much beloved Don Bosco could be. And finally, a new vocation. There are many young people who, how can I say, they succeeded to have a more mature desire of becoming Salesian just praying before Don Bosco. These are some of the most unforgettable elements. But no doubt that another one was the beatification of many saints. For example, at the beginning of my ministry as Rector Major, just 10 days after that, there was the beatification of Luigi Mariara, of Artemi de Sati, of Maria Romero. 3 great sons dedicated practically to the charity, like here Mother Teresa. But at the end was the beatification of another coadjutor, Stefano Sandor in Hungary. He was martyrized, and I can say that he really offered his life for his youngs, no? But in intermedium, there were, for example, the beatification of all the martyrs of Spain, which were a lot of martyrs. So, because why it has been so important for me? Because it reminded me that the most important gift, and the Constitution's Article 25 are quite clear. The best gift we can give to the young people is our holiness, because it reminds us that the best is exactly to grow and to get mature, just loving the others till extreme of an unbounded love to give our life for the poor, for the young people, especially the poorest and abandoned.
As someone who has guided the congregation globally, what do you identify as the key priorities for Salesian work in the world and in South Asia today?
Well, I'm convinced that the priorities for Salesian work in the world, but also here in South Asia, has been very clear identified in the last general chapters. The first one is the co-responsibility for the mission with the lay people. We need to be convinced now there is a new subject of the mission. In the past, everything was entrusted to the Salesians, consecrated persons, but since the time in which Father Vigano launched the general chapter 24, after Christi Fidelis Laici, saying that the lay people were not just collaborators, but co-responsible. This is a great difference, because you are collaborators means that you are the chief of everything, then you control everything, and you say in which part they can help you. Instead, if they become co-responsibles, they are called to share with us charism, mission, and spirituality. And we need really to, how can I say, to change our mind, because it's important to enter in this new conception of life. This has been much more corroborated with the last synod on synodality. The most important is create communion in such a way that we can be able to elaborate a vision shared by everything and transform into a mission. The second is the awareness of the necessity of take care of creation. Really, from this point of view, for example, the impact of the Salesians of India in the General Chapter 28 was very decisive to assume the Green Alliance as one of the great choices. I must say, the only great choice of the General Chapter 28, which it was impossible because of the COVID to bring it to the end. So the only choice that we had till that moment was exactly the Green Alliance. Then a renewed focus on the most vulnerable, because now the vulnerability of the young people and of the children is quite different. They are always more and more excluded, even, for example, from the with one of the how can I say, of the greatest ways of excluding. For example, when just in the internet or in a group, your group excluded you from the group and you are practically left alone. No? The quality, for example, of educational, the preventive system, especially now with the use of the artificial intelligence in educational centers. It is very interesting to know, for example, that next year we are going to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the preventive system, not the preventive system, but the presentation that Don Bosco did of the preventive system as his own choice. No? Why? Because at this moment, the most important is to update it. How to update it? According to me, in 1968, Paul VI, he edited one of the most beautiful encyclicals, Populorum Progressio. He said that at this moment, the most important elements in order to create a new civilization, the civilization of love, there we need of three things. First of all, he said, we need to teach him how to think. That is reason. Educating the heart, that is loving kindness. Opening to transcendence, religion. It's interesting that in 1968, Pope Paul VI said explicitly that he wanted to have a new civilization. That of love was necessary exactly to intervene in these three areas: mind, heart, and openness.
How can Salesian education adapt to the rapid technological and social changes facing young people today?
The first thing is to realize that we are now already in the fifth industrial revolution, not even the fourth, with robotics, nanotechnology, bioethics, and so on. This fifth industrial revolution is marked by algorithms, by artificial intelligence. This means that understanding what it is the most important, how it works, and integrate it in all our educative proposals with a humanizing educational perspective in all our institutes. Just to give you an example, the province of Venice in Italy, since the last year, they started to put to integrate the artificial intelligence in all our schools and colleges. It has been the first experience. For that reason, the most important thing is to be aware what we are living now, then to know it, to see how it works and try to integrate it in our presence. So this requires knowledge, training, and support.
Which teaching of Don Bosco do you feel are most urgent for today's youth?
The first lesson of Don Bosco is to be among young people, to be in the midst of them, to listen to them and accompany them with an attitude of great kindness and sympathy. Why? Because it's unbelievable. Why all the young people have a cellular phone, they are connected, but they live in great solitude. They don't communicate themselves. They communicate with those who are distant and very distant with those who are close or beside them. The second is help young people to develop great self-esteem, to let them know that they can be architects of their own destiny and therefore help them to develop all their talents. The third is to make young people to be true protagonists. Why? Because the current culture pretends to reduce them to be just consumers of products, consumers of experiences, and so on, and also spectators, but no protagonists. Don Bosco wanted the young people to be protagonists, and for that reason he invited them to take the stage of the history, to transform it, and finally help them to discover their mission in the world.
We would like to know your advice for the young Salesians today who are preparing themselves for the mission among the young people.
The first piece of advice is to be up to date in a very specific field, but also in pedagogical and spiritual terms, so that they don't feel outdated, is what is happening. For example, in my case, I was invited to study Holy Scripture, but before I had been expert in sciences, and once they dedicated to me just to be professor and so on, I wanted to be always updated. Otherwise, you feel that you don't have nothing to offer, nothing to say. Just for example, to have an overall vision of the world. I used to read The Economist. I am not doing publicity, but it's one of the best magazines in order to know exactly what is happening in every corner of the world, from all the different perspectives. No? Otherwise, you are always repeating the same things, giving answers to other questions for that reason do not correspond. There is no dialogue between the situation and that. No? Also because otherwise, in this very challenging world in which we are living, we are unable to read it, what is happening, to interpret it, in order to know what we are called to do in this concrete situation. For that reason, my invitation to all the young conference, young people, is to be up to date, first of all, in a specific field, philosophy, theology, science, whatever thing, but at the same time, in the pedagogical and spiritual atmosphere.
You have visited India several times, and you always, every time you visited, you inspired us. You have also preached several retreats for Salesians in India, also for SMI sisters and MSMS sisters. This time, when you have just come to Kolkata Province to preach to us 2 retreats, what are some of the things you are trying to communicate to the Salesians so that as we celebrate the centenary year, it also brings about renewal in our lives?
Well, the theme that I have chosen this time is the one I offer to the members of the General Chapter 29. Passionate for Jesus Christ, consecrated to young people, which requires mystical Salesians, conquered by the love of God so as to become credible witnesses. I am also presenting in my talks some of Pope Francis' key documents, convinced that no one like him has understood the challenging situation of the world today. No one like him. And no one has presented ways forward like him. For that reason, I have chosen to complement the talks about the mysticism of the different areas of our Salesian life, and those documents that Pope Francis has offered to us, which are very enlightening and very stimulating. All this, therefore, invites us to be witnesses of what love is the world for young people, especially the poorest, the most in need.
This time you have not visited many of our communities in the province, but how do you see the Salesians in Kolkata Province responding to the specific needs of the youth all over the province, in Kolkata Province?
Well, I need to say that this time, practically I have not seen nothing other presences like only that in Bandel with the Basilic, which is really a true spiritual center, the Don Bosco College, which is wonderful even for the all what it offers, the aspirantate. The Don Bosco College in Krisnagar, I remain amazed when I saw the new part of the college. Really, even from the architectural point of view, is magnificent. No? But I didn't meet with any of the young people. First of all, because my visit to the province had a specific purpose, no? The preaching of the two retreats. But it coincided also with a vacation period. There are no voice in our schools during this day. Therefore, I can only say that I am deeply now at the beautiful facilities that you have here, and I know how you have responded to the different situations of the youngsters. No?
What would you like to say to the Salesians, faithful, and especially the young people on the occasion of Centenary celebration of the province?
Well, in my good night talk to the conference in the first retreat in Bandel, I told them that a centenary is a wonderful occasion to contemplate the past with gratitude to God, to Our Lady, to Don Bosco, and to all those who have written this golden history, this golden page. But the centenary is also the occasion to look at the present. It's not exactly the same over 100 years ago. Enriched by the past 100 years of experience to discern exactly what God wants from this province today, because otherwise it would be great celebration, but not reading of what God is asking from the province as such. And finally, the centenary is the celebration, is opportunity to dream the future of this province according to the divine plan of God, who speaks to us with a polyphonic voice. God speaks to us through the nature, through the history, through His revealed word, the church, and Salesian caring. The history doesn't stop. It goes ahead, and we are invited to have the ability to read it, to interpret it, and above all, the courage to write it. What to say to the young people? I would like to tell them what Don Bosco would tell them. Don't forget, life is a beautiful adventure to live. Therefore, live it at the fullness, at the top. God wants you to be happy, always, now and the eternity. And in order to succeed to be happy, you need to have a positive view of yourselves, of your family, of your environment, or of West Bengal, of India, of the world. There is a lot of goodness, a lot of truth, a lot of beauty. You need to develop at the same time all your talents so that you can become, as I said just before, architects of your own destiny. Youngsters who leave footprints behind, no young people who live whatever life. And last but not least, make Jesus your best friend. Do you know why? He's the only one who has discovered the meaning of life, the only one who has discovered the keys to open the gates of death. And it's love. No money, no power, no technology. Love.
Father Pascual, thank you sincerely for sharing your profound insights, inspiring experiences, and the depths of your faith with us today. We are deeply grateful to you for your time, your wisdom, and your leadership, which continues to inspire countless young people and consecrated persons worldwide. May your mission, rooted in love and service, continue to bear fruit in the lives of many. And may you be blessed abundantly as you carry forward Don Bosco's inspiring legacy. Thank you once again for your generous presence among us.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.